Hey guys, it's Minius. This is the second part of the first season of lore videos. If you want some additional background on the Krogan rebellions, it might be a good idea for you to check out the video on the Rachni Wars. But if you've already seen it, or want to watch videos in whatever the hell order you feel like, stick around. The Krogan rebellions were a century-long conflict between the Galactic Council and its associated races, and Krogan warlords. To understand what happened in this conflict, you need to know a bit more about the Krogan. The Krogan homeworld of Tuchanka has always been a rough place to live. Codex entries make a point of saying the number one cause of death for the Krogan species before the advent of firearms was eaten by predators, and Tuchanka has always been full of predators, the most prominent one being the Thresher Maw. And no matter how badass the Krogan are, there simply isn't a great way to fight off a Thresher Maw without sufficient technology. Of course, once the Krogan developed this technology, they turned it on themselves. As soon as gunpowder was created, guns became the number one way for a Krogan to die. And once the Krogan developed nuclear weapons, they bombed the hell out of their own planet. So for a while, Tuchanka had the deadly predators, the chance of getting shot, and the general devastation of total nuclear war. All this contributed to an incredibly high mortality rate. In order to prevent extinction, this high death rate on Tuchanka needed to be offset by an equally high birth rate. Once the Solarians arrived and lifted the Krogan off Tuchanka, most of these issues went away, and the Krogan population exploded. At first, all of these new Krogan were thrown against the Rachni, but once the Rachni were crushed, the Krogan needed a bunch of new territory to hold their numbers. The Galactic Council gave them a handful of nasty, toxic worlds that the Rachni used to inhabit, and some other trash planets that none of the Council races wanted, but these worlds were nowhere near enough. In a relatively quick amount of time, the Krogan outgrew these planets or burned through their ecology, and were forced to go in search of new homes. They started colonizing worlds without Council approval, which probably would have been fine, except that some of those worlds were already colonized by Council races. At the time, the races of the Milky Way were still grateful to the Krogan for their help in the Rachni Wars, and allowed the Krogan to take these worlds, but the seizures had no end. Things came to a head when the Krogan attempted to colonize the Asari planet of Lucia. The Asari, realizing that this planet could easily be used as a staging base for an invasion of their homeworld of Thessia, demanded that the Krogan leave the planet. The Krogan representative, Overlord Kredak, is supposed to have stormed out of the Council chambers, daring them to take their world back. But the Citadel DLC suggests the events were far more aggressive.
We will never leave the planet of Lucia, no matter how much the Asari cry!
Ambassador Kredak, you only weaken your case with this show of violence.
Wrong, Solarian. Now our case is finally strong.
The first strike of the conflict was delivered by the Council's Special Tactics and Reconnaissance Agents, backed by Asari Commandos and the Solarian STG. I'm picturing the coolest Special Forces attack of all time. The Spectres employed strategic strikes, shut down the tech on Krogan worlds with vicious computer viruses, sabotaged antimatter refineries, and obliterated orbital command centers with suicide freighters. Although this attack stopped the Krogan advance in its tracks, it was, at best, a temporary measure. Krogan warlords had hordes of Rachni war veterans, and used their superior numbers to their advantage, employing massive wave attacks. Any losses they sustained were easily replenished by their rapid birth and maturity rates. There was little doubt as to who was going to succeed in this conflict, but a new player stepped onto the scene: the Turians. The Turians come from a highly militaristic and disciplined society. There is a tremendous emphasis put on honor and duty, so it really isn't that surprising that when the Krogan threatened the Turians, either to hand over territory or simply stay out of the current conflict, the Turians declared war. The arrival of the Turian military changed everything. With Turian aid, the Council could finally go toe-to-toe with the Krogan juggernaut, and with a much bigger fight on their hands, the Krogan decided to increase the brutality level. When we think of weapons of mass destruction on a science fiction level, we usually think of planet-destroying machines, like Star Wars' Death Star, or perhaps something crazier, like a device that can kill off a sun or force it to go supernova, or even a black hole generator. It's easy to forget that you don't actually need something that sophisticated to kill a comparable amount of people. All you need to do is take a celestial object of the right size and composition, like an asteroid or moon, and fling it at a planet at the right velocity and trajectory, and the resulting impact would be total devastation. And this is what the Krogan decided to do: kill off entire Turian worlds with asteroid strikes. If they were hoping to bully the Turians or break their spirit, they were wrong. The Turians became more determined than ever, but the Krogan rendered 3 Turian colonies completely uninhabitable. It's tough to tell exactly where the conflict went from here. According to Primarch Victus in Mass Effect 3, the Turians were forced to make a last stand against the Krogan on the largest moon of their homeworld, Palaven. But Codex entries seem to indicate that the Turians fought the Krogan to a standstill, and their largest concern was the fact that the Krogan could always fall back on their high birth rate after a defeat to return as strong as ever. What is clear, though, is that at some point, the Turians contacted the Solarians, who were developing a bioweapon against the Krogan, a virus specifically designed to drastically reduce their incredible birth rate. The Solarians intended this weapon to be a deterrent, but the Turians were either unwilling to continue the conflict under the threat of Krogan asteroids, or wished to adequately retaliate for Krogan brutality. The Genophage, as it came to be known, was deployed on every Krogan world. The Krogan were convinced they could outbreed the virus, but only succeeded in ensuring that it was spread throughout their entire race. Without any way to replenish their numbers, Krogan wave tactics became obsolete. They began to fight against themselves for the rare females capable of giving birth, and their resistance broke down. Although holdout warlords and factions continued to fight for decades, the conflict was essentially over. The Krogan rebellions did several things to the galactic community. Soon after, the Turians were invited to join the Council and serve as galactic peacekeepers. The Krogan were left in shambles. Even after the fighting stopped, their population continued to decline. They lost hope in the future and became increasingly selfish and bitter, harboring a grudge against everybody, but especially the Turians. But with the Turians keeping the peace and the Council stronger than ever, the galactic community wasn't seriously threatened for another 1400 years or so, until Sovereign showed up. Before I go, I want to give some quick notes on the lore series. The response to the first video, the Rachni Wars, was so positive that I've decided to expand what I'm calling Season 1 of the lore series by 2 videos. There's the Rachni Wars, and of course this one, which will be followed by the Morning War, or Geth-Quarian conflict, and then the First Contact War, but I'm also going to make videos on earlier history, entitled Reaper Genesis and the Prothean Extinction. As always, if you've got suggestions or requests, feel free to hit me up in the comments section. If you like this video, please give it a like, it really helps out the channel. Keep an eye on MiniusGC for more lore and other Mass Effect videos, but for now...
I get it. I hate Turians. I thought you'd be glad.